Welcome to Selective Imagery. Hello, the title of this video is called As Winter Begins, and it's a follow-up to the previous one called The Change of Seasons. Well, winter varies, obvious, depending on where you live. Buffalo, New York is a heck of a lot more of wintry than it is here in Myrtle Beach, but we will get temperatures in the wind chill in the mid-teens or lower at times. And once in a while we do get a dusting of snow, but not very often. So this video is going to show you some of the friends that start to show up this time of year. And I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be quite a few video clips and a few still images to share. And I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And the first picture will show you what we're all thinking about coming up. Oh, is it dinner time yet? I'm getting there. Now here's a black-crowned night heron. Don't normally see it in the pond. And here's a video clip of what we are seeing more of now, being the white pelicans. And it's funny, they just take their time paddling around, and sometimes they break up. Other times, in some other clips, you'll see them in maybe groups of 3 or 4 hanging out together, swimming together. But there are times where there's a dozen or more that are all clumped in a group, and they all have their heads going up and down, getting the fish like a sewing machine going up and down. And unlike the brown pelicans, they never dive for food. They swim, and they just move their head in and out and try to get a fish. Sometimes, from floating on top of the water, they'll go under partly to try to get a fish, but they don't fly and hit the water with their bodies to stun the fish like the brown pelicans do. But it's nice to see them, and this is common now that we're in November. And this is just a still of a couple great blue herons, followed by a video of some wood storks. And this one's lost most of its hair, so it has that hammered look on the head for the most part, but still has a little bit of hair left. And it's getting a fish, but I'll tell you, the fish, it was 34 degrees this morning, and it's almost like the fish were frozen. You didn't see the fish, at least in the really early morning, seem to fight too much when the wood storks or any other fish, any other birds went after them. They were pretty stiff. And I didn't throw them in the water to attract the birds, believe me. I don't do that kind of stuff. Yep, sucks it right down. Here's another clip of them looking for food. Now the older one in the background. with the great blue heron, just kind of poking around, watching, keeping an eye on things. And this is some areas here I'm shooting through the grasses. And you know, the sun is starting to hit the water a little bit, and then we get some great blue heron shots in flight. I love getting them in flight. And you can see all the activity here in this video clip. And this is just a small group of 3. The cormorant is going by them with a fish in its mouth. And many a times the white pelicans will follow the cormorants, and when they get a fish, I mean, they will go after them to try to get that fish from the cormorant. It was kind of funny in that scenario. The 3 were occupied, you know, doing their own thing, trying to get food on their own, and cormorant got away with swimming by with the fish in the mouth. That's not typical. Here's a shot of the pelicans in flight. Now we move on to a little bit different location where we have some ibis and some wood storks. And what's funny, something spooked the ibis. I don't know what it was. So they flew out a little ways, then they proceeded to turn around and then land pretty much right where they were before. So something must have spooked them. It definitely wasn't an alligator. There are no alligators out in this water when it's 34 degrees. I don't know what the water temperature is though. Here's a couple shots. Great egret in flight. Moving on to some more pelican footage. Here you can see him swallowing some food, along with a little mud that goes along with it. Sometimes you think they're in deep water, but they're really not. I mean, what my friend Bob and I, and Bob is from Bob Our Photos, please check out his YouTube channel. We were hoping that the pelicans were going to get some flounder, or some people call them fluke, but we weren't lucky that day. These eagles were behind us, and wow, I got a little short video clip of them here. The lighting was horrible, and you didn't even bother trying to take a photograph of them. I mean, it was way too much backlit. But the great blue heron in flight was nice. Here it's doing a pose. We have another video with the ibis and friends. And a duck manages to sneak in to the picture here. We'll move on to some pelicans in flight. They can move pretty good. They go past an island that has a bunch of cormorants and gulls just hanging out. And then, you know, the sun was in and out. When it did hit the pelican, you got that nice little bit of color, yellow color on the bird, and it enjoyed just swimming around. What's interesting is when you do get them in groups, larger groups, and one of them does get a flounder, that one tries to get away from the rest because it gets pretty violent. Here's a short clip, pelican in flight. It's always fun how they land, put their feet down, just kind of skim across the water. It's like hitting the brakes. This great blue heron is getting ready to take off. Here we have the pelicans hanging out with some great egrets. That they all decide to fly and hang out in one corner for a little while. I mean, this is on the pond side. For those that hear me talk about the causeway, when you drive into the park, the right-hand side is brackish water pond, the left-hand side is the marsh. So all the birds, there were really no birds on the other side, on the marsh side. They were all in here on the pond side. And they would basically just, they would fly to one corner of the pond, and then, 10 minutes later, they could all leave, fly somewhere where, you really couldn't even get film footage of them. They were too far away. And you just waited, and eventually they would come back to the same location. They sit in one area for a while, and then they take off and they check out another spot. I mean, here you got the great blue herons, you got the wood storks, you got the great egrets. Got the three pelicans in the foreground. Well, that was a half-hearted attempt at flight, just moving a little bit further away from the other guys. This was a good day. We had not had any significant quantities of birds for quite a while, and this kind of made our day. I mean, this was probably one of the better mornings that we had in months, literally in months. I mean, we did have some luck with some small groups of spoonbills. And I wouldn't say they're gone. I'm sure I'll get some footage and some still images of some more of them. In the background there, you can see the mergansers swimming around, and I have a clip where I am focusing just on them. I'll tell you one thing that's really nice with the Z9, and for those, most of you know, I shoot a Z9. I shoot 4K 120, 10-bit, and here's a pelican. You see how it's flying and breaking and then walking and joining the other guys. But what's great is if you're in 4K 120 and you go into, while you're in video mode, you go into DX mode, you get a 2.3 times crop factor, and does not affect the quality at all. And it lets you bring in, I mean, some of these shots were with that 2.3 crop because the subject was not, it wasn't on top of them, and this was shooting with the 500 PF as well. But you really have nothing to complain about. And even though the eagles were in horrible lighting, it would have been wonderful to get a nice picture of them, to just see them and hear them making the sounds behind you made you feel good, whether or not you could get a picture or not. And here's the mergansers, and these guys are so funny when you're watching them, and usually they will not get close to you. So I'm sure here that I've got the 2.3 times crop going on in DX mode, in video mode, and you know, you'll see 20 of them or more side by side, and then their heads just go down like pop, 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 pop. They all go underwater, they pop back up, and they just, you know, repeat over and over again. They're really fun to watch. And there was some ibis. And here is a seagull chasing an osprey for food. And here is a short video clip of the osprey, who will eventually get chased by the seagull. Now the seagull has no chance, and I don't think the seagull is actually very smart, because Osprey could take it out pretty easy if it wanted to. It does its little shake to get the water off of it. And I had a lot more footage in here, but it was a little jumpy because I'm trying to pan, and they're moving so fast. Even here in it was hard to capture it. Here's a still image. And eventually we moved on to a different area to find some small birds, and got some nice bluebird shots. And then we finish with a couple other pictures here. And that's it. So I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Have a good time, enjoy life, capture some of it, and have a good holiday, have a good weekend. Take care.